Welcome to Faith in Five. My name is Kelsey Jenny, and I am really excited to be here with you today. Gosh, I had a friend one time that asked me a question, and I have not forgotten. I actually think about it quite often now. She's a spiritual director, which is a mentor, a coach, a person that really listens to me about the way that God and I have been talking lately to one another. And she said, "When is a moment that you felt fully loved and fully known?" And I really sat there and thought about that for a while. It's just such an interesting question. And I came to this moment. I don't think I really remembered this until we started talking about it, but my dad was in the Air Force and would help recruit guys for the Air Force Academy. And when they would get into the academy, we got to go to their graduation parties. And I love parties. And I especially loved them when I was like 7 and 8. You know, you put on that like very pretty purple dress that's got the tulle and walked into the party like kind of on my dad's arm, you know, and my dad was the one that got this guy into the academy. So people are thanking him and having conversations with him, and I didn't really care about that. What I really cared about was that there was pineapple, and I love pineapple. So I would just stuff my face kind of over in the food area and would just twirl around and watch my dress just kind of balloon out. I just loved that when I was little, to twirl and to eat pineapple and to just be in this party attached to the man who was incredibly important, the one that helped get this young guy into the academy. My dad would always wear his dress blues, his uniform, and I remember I'd see him kind of in the crowd, and it always felt like whenever I was looking for him, he was always looking at me. And I don't know if that was true, but it felt that way, that I was somehow in this sea of people so safe and known because my dad was always looking for me. My dad was always looking at me with such pride, and I wasn't doing anything but stuffing my face full of pineapple and twirling around a room in a giant purple dress. But my goodness, I felt so known and so loved and ridiculously celebrated for doing almost nothing. And when I think about that moment, I really believe that that's the way the God of the universe sees us. If we're living rooted deep into his love, the best of the best of the very, very best is what he declares us to be in Genesis as he wrought us into existence. I really think being fully known and fully celebrated and fully loved is the invitation that you and I have, that we're always seen. And how do I know that? Because the God of the universe came near. He came to be with his Tov Meod. He came to be with the ones that he created, to stand face to face, to love them, to offer grace and mercy and healing. Every interaction that people have with Jesus in the Bible, their lives change, and it's not because they do anything. It's not because they muster up anything. It's not because they work harder. It's not because they are puffed up or proud. It's actually because they're vulnerable, because they're looking for his victory in their vulnerability, because they feel fully known and fully loved and fully celebrated just by the way the man named Jesus looks at them, just by the way the God of the universe in human form interacts with them. See, Jesus is always waiting for you and I. There's a psychiatrist, his name is Kurt Thompson, and he quotes, he's incredible. One of his quotes is, "Every newborn comes into the world looking for someone, looking for him or her." It's actually in our DNA. Every newborn comes into the world looking for someone, looking for him or her. It's like we all want to be seen and known and celebrated and loved. And sometimes we look to everything else around us to tell us who we are and whose we are. But friends, what I would argue is but Jesus. See, the reason that every interaction people have with Jesus, their story changes because their vulnerability ushers in his victory, because they're seen and known and loved exactly as they are in that moment, because they're doing nothing by being puffed up or proud. They're actually coming to the one who is always waiting, and the one who always sees us, and the one who knows us by name. There's a story that interaction, a real encounter that Jesus has with two guys. They're just labeled as disciples. They don't have their name in John, but they hear that Jesus is passing by and they just follow him. And if you put yourself in the story, why would you just follow a man named Jesus? There's got to be something incredibly attractive about him. There's got to be something that he's giving away that nobody else is offering. And if you think about that you could follow a man named Jesus, the God of the universe in human form, down the street, what would you want to ask him? What would you want to know? You're watching the God of the universe who created Walking Walk. I mean, you're just like, that is awesome, man. You know, I bet he walked so cool. But when he turns around at one point, because he knows these guys are following him, and he says, "What do you want? What are you looking for? What are you after?" And they stammer and stutter a little bit, and they just say, "Hey, Jesus, where are you staying?" And which I think is a funny question, like, "Hey, where are you hanging out today?" And Jesus says, "Come along and see for yourself, and come along and be with me. Come along and stand in my presence. Come along and let me love you and care for you. Come along and let me be with you in the celebration and in the chaos and the mess. Come and let me be the God of the universe in human form who sees you and celebrates you and knows you. See, we don't have to live hurried in that way. The end of that story is those guys went and spent the whole day with Jesus. There has got to be something that the God of the universe is offering to you and I that is more than what we're living. If we're always seen and always known and always celebrated by him, if he's always waiting for us, friends, I imagine that we've got to stand more in that love, in the posture that the God of the universe is asking me what I want, and he is ready and willing to offer me whatever the deepest desires of my heart are. That when I'm able to be vulnerable in front of the God of the universe, his great victory meets me in unique and wonderful ways. And it might not be the way that I think it should. It might not be the way that I want it to be, but it's better because it's his. It's better because he always sees. It's better because he is the one that designed and created me. Who better to stand in his presence, in his power, and in his authority, and ask him where I'm celebrated and where I'm seen and where I'm known. What are you looking for? What are you after? Do you think that the God of the universe could root you in a love that could last and it could change your story? See, I would argue for every interaction Jesus has in Scripture with people, that love radically changes their life because he's willing and he's waiting.